Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
What happens in Vegas goes all over the world on Black Entrepreneur Experience, episode number 142. Thank you for joining us as we elevate the Black Entrepreneur Experience by interviewing CEOs, thought leaders, innovative thinkers, and Black entrepreneurs across the globe. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards, CEO of INC Tutoring, 2018 TedX alumni, top 40 under 40, named one of Dallas's most inspiring entrepreneurs of DFW, and the founder of the Jay Veal Brand. Welcome, Jay Veal.
Hey, thanks for having me. How's it going?
I am doing absolutely wonderful, and I know you are doing quite good yourself. Why don't you fill in the gaps and share with our audience what you'd like us to know about you and your company?
Yeah, sure. So appreciate you for having me on today. So basically, I am not originally from Dallas-Fort Worth. I was born northeast of LA and also partly raised all over the world, if you will, but my main roots are in the West Coast side of the United States. I am an individual who is of different facets. Both my parents retired military in the Air Force, so I moved around a lot, got a chance to live in Okinawa, Japan, got a chance to live out in Korea and other places, and had a lot of experiences to be a well-rounded individual up front in my early stages of growing up. And then I landed in Dallas-Fort Worth somehow. At the last year of high school, my mom retired from the Air Force and got a chance to go into Microsoft over here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So I moved my last year of high school, left everybody behind, and then started my pathway all over again, if you will, with new friends my last year in senior year of high school. So then I went on to go to college, went to the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis for quite a while, and then once I did the Navy thing, kind of went out and got my master's degree, graduated with a master's in education and curriculum instruction mathematics. My undergrad was in information systems with a minor in mathematics. So I have a background in STEM, if you will, where it has kind of led me to different career paths in IT and tech. So once I graduated and got into the real world, if you will, one of my first roles was at Baylor Healthcare Systems as a network engineer intern, and then I ended up in the banking space and the telecommunications space, working for like T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, all the big three, and then worked at Microsoft. So having the IT background was kind of where I was landing after my undergrad was in that field, and I originally thought that I was going to be a CIO of a Fortune 100 company. That's kind of was my goal at the time. And I ended up, when I was in healthcare IT, landed in healthcare IT, and I ended up getting emails from some individuals from the education space who said, hey, you should come out and find out about being a teacher. And I'm like, that was not what I thought my plan was. I thought my plan was supposed to be in tech. And I kept on getting the same emails 3 times. So I was like, well, maybe God's trying to tell me something. So let me find out what this is about. So I went to the informational session, and I ended up liking it. So in 2008, I landed my first role as an educator in the classroom at a high school called Townview Magnet Center, the Townview Science Engineering Magnet High School portion of it, because there's 6 high schools inside of the center. At that time, it was the number 2 high school in the United States here in Dallas. Right now, I believe it's like number 6 or 7 in the United States. But I graduated from that same high school, so I went back to go teach there, and I taught a unique class called Fast Track Mathematics, and what it basically is teaching 3 years of pre-AP mathematics courses to freshmen in 1 year. So you basically do a pre-AP geometry in a regular calendar academic year, and while you're teaching the freshmen that, you teach them pre-AP Algebra 2 the whole year in first semester, and then the second semester you teach them the whole year of pre-calculus in 1 semester as well. So they get 3 years of content in 1 year. And my first year out the gate teaching, my kids got 100%, commended on the state exam, and all of them got a perfect score. So I figured at that point, I must have a gift or something. So I decided to move into another school a regular high school at this point. Did Algebra 1. Then I left there to go to a charter school organization to start an AP Calculus program and became an assistant girls basketball coach. And then at that point, went off to Duncanville High School and did Algebra 2 and math models. And then from that point forward, I got promoted to go become an instructional coach. So I started teaching teachers for 3 years. And then I got promoted to become a district level administrator in the STEM instructional coach realm over 7 campuses and high schools in partnership with the Department of Education in DC. And then in the midst of all of that, I became an adjunct professor of mathematics at a university as well for 4 years, doing college algebra, college statistics, college pre-cal, and developmental mathematics. So then that's kind of where the landscape took me, if you will, in the education space. And then in between all of that, I noticed a gap between what students of color were not getting really in the classroom and what they weren't getting outside of the classroom for support. And that's where INC Tutoring was kind of birthed, right? Was taking a scenario of getting to know students and parents from an educational relationship standpoint, from a deep relationship standpoint, and then including what we call a holistic circle of influence between parents, teachers, counselors, students, and if they're in sports, the coaches, so everybody's on one page academically and pedagogically. We mentor the students and then provide back-end support. So I thought about that model for a while and was like, hey, this is something that could be successful. And I really was grassroots with it, started knocking door to door with the company in the middle of 2013. And it was a part-time venture for quite a while, right? It was my second time kind of going into the full-time space, but I, had basic business cards, basic website, basic everything for about a year. And my mom helped me out with operations in the organization, and it kind of just grew organically. Now, I'm kind of proud to say that we have grown from a one-man show now to, we have 55 tutors nationwide between Dallas, Frisco, Chicago, DC, and Austin. We expand out to Atlanta and Charlotte this spring of 2020. We have impacted over, 8,700 tutoring sessions and thousands of students now. We've currently earned over 11 awards, including one coming next month from the United Nations. We just got Global Leadership Award for Sustainable Goal 4 for quality education, and we're the only education organization to get chosen for that this year. So it's been a wild ride and been quite fun at the same time, being able to impact mostly students of color. We do, assist everybody, but it's been great being able to see a 95% success rate of our students earning A's and B's in like 50 subjects now. So it's really crazy. I did my last TED Talk in New York on kind of that approach and why it's successful. And then between all of this, of course, started the Jay Veal Brand, which is an education and business consulting firm, really focusing on speaking engagements and being able to assist those that are in education that need different kinds of things like culturally relevancy training, ELL, instruction support, curriculum instruction and design, things of that nature in that particular brand. And then those that are small business owners on the entry level, mid-level, and higher level business consulting for a space for that. And in addition to that, became co-founder of a beauty education company with my partner, Gia McLeod. So a lot of stuff that's been happening over the past 5 years.
That is amazing. Talk about naming the tutoring company, INC Tutoring.
Yeah, so that comes up a lot, actually. As funny as it sounds, it's almost like a conversation piece. I am the first to always say I am not the one that came up with the name of the company. I always admit that up front. It was actually my mother who came up with that. She said, hey, math has never been an issue for you. It's never been hard. So why don't you name it It's Not Complicated? And I was like, that sounds interesting. It's Not Complicated Tutoring. And so as it kind of started to become cliche, folks were like, it's not complicated. I like that. And then it became more of, they had stopped saying it's not complicated and started saying INC. And so INC became kind of a brand of its own outside of the It's Not Complicated as well. So now when folks see the brand and the logo, they always relate it to INC. Oh, we know that's INC, or that's INC's over that, or INC is behind that. So normally folks would think INC, of course, means incorporated. But because it's incorporated and because Inc. is our name as well, it's a very popular name that people can identify with. So yeah, and it's on my right arm, tattooed on my right arm. I love what I do. It's on top of the cross that's on my right arm, and I hold it after the Lord Jesus and family. I hold it to the highest standard of achievement and success for students of today. So that's kind of how we came up with the name.
That's brilliant. Tell your mom that is absolutely brilliant. And I know you kind of glossed over it, and I'm going to let you decide, Jay, how much you want to share. But I know that my audience, I would be remiss if I didn't pull this back. Okay. You talked about the beauty you just launched, and I know you were talking about that educational space, which we are so much into, but I cannot let you slide by. Talk about that, this new launch you have.
Absolutely. So about a couple of years ago, I got a chance to meet my now business partner, Cloud, who is a makeup artist based here in Dallas-Fort Worth. She had been working with Mac and Estee Lauder for about a 10-year time span, where she was able to be involved in different types of events, go to different get flown out to be a makeup artist for different types of film and TV type of, cosmetic experiences and things of that nature. So when we connected, kind of an organic situation where it was like, hey, I love what you do in education, and hey, I love what you do in the beauty space. Let's kind of talk about some things. And so years later, we connected back again through an off and on kind of scenario of just, communicating about things. And we decided to build a brand together. She was a makeup artist of the year last year in Dallas-Fort Worth. And obviously I was one of the top educators in the city as well. So we decided to take both of those scenarios and put them together to launch INC Beauty, which is a Dallas-based innovative premier beauty education brand that's created to give clients and women insight into what lifestyle and beauty looks like. We deploy basically a suite of on-demand beauty education services directly to today's modern and chic daily woman to really educate her on the needs and the looks of everyday life and the planned events that she goes to. Oftentimes we see women that they go to the Urban Decay, MAC, or other different types of companies, right? Makeup Forever and get their makeup done. But that's it, right? When you get it done, it's a one-stop shop. You go home, you go to your event or whatever you decide to do, and you bless everybody with your look. But you don't necessarily understand the what, why, how, and where of the makeup and cosmetics, and you don't understand the aesthetics of the skin and how you're supposed to really take care of yourself and how to really understand the educational component. So we offer custom beauty education classes to not only our clientele and women, but also makeup artists as well. We do special events and education sessions. We have a Revive and Renew program for our senior citizens, in addition to all women who have been through breast cancer, maybe human trafficking, domestic abuse, divorce, or depression as well, to kind of, show them that there's still hope, right? This is what the other side of the fence looks like after these particular things happen in your life, and it's not the end of the rope. You have a lot more breadth and worth to go, and you can still look beautiful doing it, right? So that's kind of what we do in brand. We're really focused on the educational piece of the cosmetics and making the woman feel great about herself far beyond just the cosmetic experience. And we hope that this goes viral, it goes out beyond our wildest dreams, because right now the space is very saturated just from a makeup artist perspective. Us being the first and only beauty education company to come out of Dallas, it's piquing some eyes and some eyebrows on what we do and who we are. So as it continues to grow, I think it's going to be a great thing for the U.S.
And what was that aha moment that you knew that the business was going to be successful?
As far as the INC Tutoring side of the house, I'll say when we started to see many students that were getting great results with what we were doing, right, with the tutoring. And it wasn't just a normal tutoring scenario. It was more like, hey, we're really building solid relationships with these students. And I forgot to mention this, we tutor students from first grade all the way up to PhD and doctorate level. So we're the only tutoring company that goes that high and that wide and deep in content. And when we started seeing success from the little kids all the way up to the doctorate degrees who come to us for tutoring, it was something special that was like, you know what? We have something that's going to really go long and far with it. If we continue to do it the right way, and we continue to have this success rate, I think that it's something that can be long lasting, and it can, well after I'm gone, it can be a brand that can thrive just for education, because we all know education. There's a couple of industries in the world that are not going nowhere. One of them is beauty, the other one is healthcare, and the other one is education. You're always going to find something in one of those spaces. So it's kind of where that particular scenario happened, where I figured, this is an aha moment where the success is great, but what's even greater than the success or even the awards or even the accolades is really the impact that we've begun to have with the community and the students itself. So now when people think about education and tutoring on Facebook or Instagram or sometimes Snapchat, I heard somebody yesterday referred us on Facebook and said, whenever I hear anything about tutoring and education, INC is always the first to come to mind. And being the fact that we're top of mind in a lot of people's heads now is worth all the wait for the aha moments.
And Jay, what do you attribute your success to?
I attribute my success to my team. First off, actually my team and the Lord Jesus, obviously. I wouldn't be where I am now with INC Tutoring if it wasn't for the team. What's really important, and I'm going to talk about this as well in Atlanta at a conference, the MobileCon conference next month, it's very important to build a team, right? You can't do everything by yourself. As an entrepreneur, we tend to think we can do that. And you can to a certain extent as a sole proprietor. But as you continue to grow and scale, you can't do everything by yourself. You have to implement systems and procedures and put them in place so things can be on autopilot so you can scale. And it's one of those things where if you don't have the right people on the right bus going the same direction, you can fairly derail it pretty soon, right? So you have to have the right individuals. And right now, growing from a one-man show to now we have 5 regional managers, 4 of them in Dallas, Fort Worth. We have another one in Atlanta, based in Atlanta, who actually manages the Chicago team that we have. And when I move out there to Atlanta, I'm going to, manage that team as well. And we'll have a different person managing Chicago. But as you continue to grow, everybody has to be on the same page and be able to contribute to the same mission. If everybody is not on board for the same mission, which is to impact students through a prescriptive and holistic tutoring approach that is relationship driven and results driven, then it's not something that they should be part of the team on. So we're very careful in who we hire, who we bring on board, how we're interacting with them. One of my favorite quotes, or not even quotes, but one of my favorite things that Gary Vee says, is one of my favorite business guys. He says you have to, you hire fast. You hire slow and you fire fast.
Right.
So those individuals who are not doing what they're supposed to do within the organization or making the impact that you want, it's cool to bring them on, but if they're a cancer to the organization, it's something that needs to go ASAP. So really, that's kind of the success factor, is building a team that can do things while you're gone, being able to scale, and being able to have the right morals and values in place so your clientele can really understand where you're coming from, where you're going, and how they need to interact with you.
What problem exists in the world today that you'd like to solve?
I would say access to, we're still kind of doing it now, but I would say access to quality education and equitable education and access for everybody. That's one of the problems I'd like to solve. I would say we're chunking away at that piece by piece with INC Tutoring, also with the Jay Veal Brand from the education consulting side of the house, and even with the speaking engagements. There's things that we're doing to solve those educational gaps, and really there's 3 big gaps to close, which is the belief gap, the achievement gap, and the opportunity gaps. With what we're doing in our process, and we get a chance to close all 3 of those. But the other thing that I really think is important, I have a group on Facebook that's called the Jay Veal Brand Financial Literacy Group, and I was tired of seeing people of color have less than an 800 credit score. And I was like, here I am, a millennial who I have an 8 something, right? And I used to work in the credit industry and at Experian. Used to be in banking. I have some knowledge I can give away. Like, what can I do to help this out? So decided to start that group and be able to assist people who are trying to get their credit scores up and just do better from financial literacy. Not a credit repair type of thing, because I don't believe in credit repair. But what I do believe in is having the right knowledge to understand what your financial situations look like and how to benefit from them with the right decisions. So I did that. And I just want to solve people just not knowing, right? Not knowing how to go about their financial situations and not understanding what financial literacy pictures should look like, right? Student loan debt, it's at $1.3 trillion. It's $2 trillion or $0.2 trillion more than credit card debt now. It's absurd. Like, I am blessed to not have to have gone through student loans. I got, $385,000 worth of money to go to school. So I didn't have to pay for any of the degrees that I have. And I want to be able to have other individuals get that blessing and be able to work through that. So we also have college and career type of mentoring services, if you will, and guidance services that we added on to our tutoring portfolio, and academic counseling that we added to address those concerns and solve those problems too.
And what is something that's, when you talk about financial literacy, what is something that we don't know that we should know about that industry?
I think things that you should know are, one is there's always a way for you to figure out your financial situation, but you have to be very careful on how you plan it, right? People are going to tell you all types of advice. People are going to tell you all types of things. Folks from the credit repair industry are going to tell you all kinds of things, but you have to be very careful on what advice you get and who you're getting it from and what the advice is for. It's just like coaches, right? There's 50 million coaches for business coaches and whatever coaches, life coaches, and all that out there. But not all of them are really out there for your best intent and for your best, scenarios in mind. So you have to be very careful who you align yourself with and if they align with the goals that you need to accomplish, right? So financially speaking, I think credit, knowing what credit is, knowing how credit operates, knowing how to leverage credit, and outside of that, knowing how to also leverage real estate when it comes to credit. I'm just now starting to kind of see what real estate kind of looks like and trying to get into that market. And one of my favorite guys, John Henry, who posts a lot of things on Instagram and YouTube about just, he's a venture capitalist from Harlem Capital. And I think that being able to, as a person of color, being able to understand a few things. One is, how do you understand how to build wealth? Two is, how do you understand, that you need to actually have a will? And I'm kind of guilty. I need to go ahead and get mine done myself pretty soon here. But how to get a will done and be able to have processes in place so when you do leave this earth, everything is taken care of. One thing that, us as minorities have to deal with all the time is, person died, they didn't have a will. Well, now this stuff that they had goes to the state, and it could have been divvied up differently, and the family could have been taken care of differently via insurance perspective if they had the stuff set properly. So being able to have that done, estate planning, understanding how to have high, excellent credit, and what do you do to remain there and stay at excellent and not go anywhere else besides that level. Understanding how to save. I know that the statistic that came out recently was that by the year 2025, the net worth of an African American family is going to be net negative, and that means that zero, nothing. So we really have to really look at our situations as a people and figure out how are we going to take care of ourselves and our families by the actions and things that we do today. And if we don't understand that role, we're going to be in some trouble. But those are the things that I would say are important from a financial literacy perspective.
Jay, how do you stay fit mentally and physically?
From a physical perspective, I like to work out. I don't work out as much as I should. I need to be working out every day. I'm trying to commit myself to doing that sometime soon, but I do want to buy me a bike so I can do some hard level cardio, if you will, and bike around and burn calories that way versus doing, running on a treadmill. Although I like to run, and I run through paths more than I run on the treadmill, but I like to do that. I do like to, hit the weights as well. Did a lot of running when I was in the Navy, and went to the gym a lot when I was in the Navy. But when I got out, kind of slimmed down a little bit on that. But those are the things I do, I think, from a physical perspective. From a mental perspective, that is a good question. I'm still trying to work on that. A lot of the times, especially us as African American men, we don't really focus a lot on the mental side of the house. But I'm just now really seeing recently, I would say in the past 6 months, that the mental health and capacity is actually somewhat important. It is very tough to run 3 small businesses through the week, and you don't get a chance to have a lot of fun. I mean, what you do is your fun. Like, what you do, that is your fun, right? Like, you don't get a chance to do a lot of the things that people that are not entrepreneurs do, right? Which is really have a lot of time to spend with family and friends. But as entrepreneurs, we're really dedicated to our craft. So we really focus in on impacting the world, right? So instead of kicking it with our friends and our homies and our families, we focus on saving the world. So it's hard to take time out to de-stress, to think about other things, to go out there and take a break and go to the movie sometimes, or to go out and take a break and go out on a date sometimes, or take a break and go out and have some laughs with your buddies and all that stuff. So the short answer to that is I'm not really sure. I'm working on it. It's a work in progress. But I think from a mental standpoint, I'm taking a little bit more time to stop the work and try and get a breath of fresh air and then come back and resume. But it's tough. That's the long answer. It's tough.
And Jay, you mentioned about family. How do you include your personal life, your family life with your business life?
Again, I'm getting better at it. I don't have any kids or anything like that, so I don't necessarily have an immediate family when it comes to that perspective. But my mom and dad are here in Dallas, and I have some nieces that are here as well. But I think the goal is to really be able to see your family a lot more if you're in a capacity like I'm in, where you're working a ton. Just recently, I had an uncle that passed a couple of days ago, and I had another uncle that passed about 5 months ago, and another family member that passed before that. So 3 people that died in the past year, and out of all 3 times, I never got a chance to say the last goodbye every single time. So this is the 3rd time I'm seeing this now. I'm just like, you know what? I need to actually go out there and see my grandma. You know what I'm saying? I need to see individuals I haven't seen in like 5 years, 4 years, 10 years before they leave this earth. Because the last thing I want to do is have a situation where my parents, something happens to my parents, God forbid, and I ain't get a chance to see them yet either. And they live in the same metroplex, but at this time I only see them probably once or twice, every 6 months. So it's pretty bad, but I'm getting better at trying to do that. My mom, I see a little bit more because she helps me out in my company still. So we communicate, through the week. But I just don't get a chance to physically see them as often as I should. And that's something that I think everybody who listens to this podcast understands, that it's very important to take some time, whether you're in a relationship, partnership, or a situationship, or your family, to go out and see those people, not only for who they are, but see them for just to see them as a great person and spend time. Because you never know, it's been crazy lately, in the news. We've seen people who died. Like, there's been tons of people who have died this past year. It's crazy. Teenagers died, police brutality, tycoons that died, just crazy. Game changers, world changers. And if you don't go to see the people who have impacted your life in any facet, it just may not be a good thing for you in the long run. And it's something that you could have either had an impact on, or you could have been able to get changed by that person just by having them in your life. So very important.
Jay, we can learn from successful entrepreneurs like yourself or brands. Tell us a brand or a business that is dominating and you admire and why.
I would say two brands per se right now. One is, I mentioned this earlier, John Henry's organization, Harlem Capital. They're a venture capital firm that really focuses on women and minority firms and businesses. And I think that for me, one reason why I admire that organization because they're building a pathway in such a small niche market that, only 3%, only 3% total, not 3% each, but 3% total women and minorities get venture capital funding. And I think to build an organization centered around that, right, by itself, to help out organizations get venture capital, get funding, get backing to accomplish goals of their businesses is something I think to stand up for. Just period, point blank, at the end of story, we need more opportunities as a minority group. And we never got a chance to have a lot of those before. So now that we're just now getting organizations that help do those kinds of things, and it's not even where it needs to be still quite yet, it's something to be proud of. Another organization that I would say, man, there's a ton of them. I'll just say this, versus me actually specifically stating organizations, I would just say any organization right now that is of color, that is trying to do something positive in every facet or industry, whether it be education, sports, venture capital, food industry, healthcare, and all of that, even in the beauty industry. I know, Rihanna with Fenty is doing some amazing things now within cosmetics and in fashion. And I think as a stand-up, is doing a bang-up job for women in those particular industries right now to make women of color pop. So, and in film. So I'd say anybody that's doing something positive in those industries for people of color, whether it be women or men of color, and making what they do pop for the culture, as we say, is something to be stood up for all the way around. So I can't necessarily, it's too many of them to speak of. I'd say outside of that, anybody that's doing any of those things we have to celebrate that.
So Jay, talk to a younger you. What advice would you give to a younger Jay?
Oh man. The advice I would give to a younger me is one, to take life a little slower. I grew up a little faster in life. I was a freshman in high school at 12 years old. I graduated high school when I just turned 16. So I was younger. I kind of got matured a little younger than I wanted to. And I didn't get a chance to smell all the roses. I got a chance to see them develop and kind of like spring out a little bit. But I didn't see them always at full bloom, if you will, from a analogy perspective. I would have also started INC Tutoring way earlier. If I would have known now what I know today, I would have started INC Tutoring in high school. And I would have been like, hey, I'm that tutor that does math and science for high school. And like everybody to come to me and, to get tutoring and be able to start something positive in high school. So I would have had a huge impact by now. I mean, we've made a huge impact already, but I'm talking about like major, like venture capital type majors. So I would have started INC Tutoring a lot younger, a lot quicker than I have today. And I also would have garnered an entrepreneurial spirit a little bit younger. I would have told myself to really figure out what you really want to do. I mean, I had an idea when I was younger about what I wanted to do, and back then it was engineering and computers and tech and all that. But as I got older, that has changed. But I would like to have stated to myself, really figure out your passion super early, and talk to your higher being. For me it's God, but for those out there listening that may not be their cup of tea, whatever your higher being is, consult with that individual from a spiritual perspective and really figure out who you are. Self-awareness. Have self-awareness fairly early in your life. And it'll guide you in the right pathway that you want to be in, and it'll put you in front of the right people sometimes if you have that particular self-awareness and you drive yourself in those particular pathways. In addition to that, I would also give myself a quicker awareness to financial literacy. I learned it quite a bit from my parents, which was a blessing. So I didn't fall into pathways that other colleagues have, but I would have told myself to start doing things in savings and investments and things like that a lot earlier. I would have also told myself that you have to have an undying, unwavering degree of confidence and success to get to certain points in your life, and nobody can tell you and steer you wrong. You can be the craziest person in the world, but as long as you have that drip of confidence, that willingness to succeed, I think that everything happens for a reason. Sometimes we don't understand the reasons, but I would say that having that self-awareness and having that confidence are two major things that are important that I would have told myself back then.
Jay, what have you not done in life that you dream about often?
Oh, man. Traveling to different countries every week. I wish I could do that right now. Get on a private jet and go out there and do it. You know what I'm saying? I've traveled quite a bit in my life, but I really want to see other places like London, Greece, Africa, Spain, Russia, Europe. I haven't ventured to any of those places. Bora Bora, Turkey, Phuket, all these different type of places. Just traveling and even skydiving. I haven't skydived yet. I rappelled out of helicopters and stuff like that, from the military side of the house, but I haven't skydived. So traveling often, every week often, being able to live life always on my terms and have 100% freedom. I have quite a bit of freedom now, which is great being an entrepreneur, but I don't have 100%, I would say, freedom quite yet. We're all still really working towards that 100% all the time, every time kind of metric. But just being able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, whatever I want, whenever I want, without any budgets, without any resentment, and just having the freedom of life to do things with no barriers. So that's what I would say.
Jay, what is a technology tool or a technology platform that is a must-have in managing your businesses day to day?
Oh, man, that's a good one. So I use a platform for CRM called Pocket Suite. Shout out to the owners of Pocket Suite out there in San Francisco in the Bay. We were actually their first tutoring organization on the platform, so they modeled a lot of the tutoring other organizations after what we did, and then the requisites that I wanted out of the company. So it is a very robust CRM app that has 50 million features in it, and it's not, when we got into it, it wasn't really costly at all. At this point, it's probably comparable to market, but so we got in early. But I think that having this particular app, as they've been featured in Forbes and a bunch of other a bunch of magazines and media outlets, but it's just a very robust tool. So definitely Pocket Suite. Another thing I would say is probably Trello and Dubsado to manage kind of your day-to-day ops and project management and things of that nature. And GroupMe or Slack, either one of those two outlets for chat and group support are two other tech platforms that people should use to manage their day-to-day business. You know what I mean?
So who are your top two influencers in life, and what lessons do they teach you?
I would say one of my influences in life, I would really say one is my mom and dad. I would say my parents combined in one versus me saying one or the other. My dad teaching me a lot about financial literacy and being able to start early, balancing a checkbook, bank statements and stuff like that. My parents were kind of hard on me, I guess you could say, when it comes to growing up, because, instead of them showing me ways, sometimes they would be like, oh, hey, the printer doesn't work. And they would be like, well, fix it. And I'll be like, how? And I'm like, I don't know how to do it. And they would just be like, figure it out. So really being put into a place where I had to expand my mind and figure stuff out, with minimal questions was a thing that was placed upon me by my parents. I think helped me expand my mind a little bit. My mom's favorite quote is always, everything that looked good for you, that looks good to you ain't always good for you. And I think that goes, when she initially stated that it was about ladies and women, but I think that can be extended out to business and in general. Don't always do things for the money just because you can get a check. There are some things that you have to moralistically keep top of mind, and don't just do something just because you're going to get, a check for $50 million or a check for $50,000 or whatever. The money might be cool in the short run, but in the long run, the impact may be negative to you, or it may damage your brand. It may damage your team. It may damage your morals. So be cognizant and aware of, always taking the money. I'll say another lesson they taught me was to just understand who you are. At the end of the day, it may take you time, but really understand who you are and why you're put on this earth. The statistic at this point states that over 88% of people that live on earth they have not lived a life based on their passions and what they want to do in life. A lot of them can make $500,000 as an investment banker at Morgan Stanley or Goldman Sachs or whatever, and as can make a lot of money in tech. But at the end of the day, they're miserable in their careers. You gotta really take time to understand you and know what you want to do and who you want to do. But more importantly, who are you impacting? When I leave this earth, right? If I left tomorrow after this call, I could confidently say that I left the earth and I impacted thousands of students. We impacted many families. And students, graduated and went off to college and got scholarships because we had an impact on them. Like, if you don't know who you are, what you're doing, and why you're on this earth, and how you're supposed to impact people, that's a problem. And I say that's the biggest lesson that I think I learned.
That is a huge value bomb. Jay, tell us if you was asking these questions, what question would you have asked yourself that I did not ask you? And I want you to ask the question and answer the question too.
All right. Let's see. I guess a question could be is, what trait do you believe is needed to be successful and sustainable as an entrepreneur and a person of color? So, to answer that question, I would say that the trait that's needed to be a successful entrepreneur of color, and even a millennial at this point, or a millennial of color, is to have resiliency. It is not easy to start a company, for one. Furthermore, it is not easy to build a company from a founder of color that even gets to $1 million in their career. And what I mean by that is the statistic that I saw and found out from when I was in the Goldman Sachs program. I just graduated from the Goldman Sachs program, 10,000 small businesses recently.
Congratulations.
And appreciate it. And so one statistic was the fact that businesses of color, 89%, no, actually it was higher than that. It was like 90% or 92% of those businesses never make $1 million, ever. And in my mind, I'm like, that is crazy. So when you're in a scenario and you're up against those odds, man, like having resiliency is imperative. We're not there yet, but I would say in the past couple of years, we've been able to push out at least 350, K. And that's just in the last 2 years, not in the whole time we've been in it. We started the company. So we're on track to do something like that, after a little bit more time. But having resiliency is very key and important when you're starting a company and being a founder of color, because so many obstacles are going to come your way. There's so many days I've been like, you know what? I'm just going to quit INC Tutoring. Like, it's too much. I can't, I need to go back to something else. Like, I can't do this. And so, but in my industry, when you look back at what you've achieved and the smiling faces of the students, young or older, that you've had a chance to impact. And they always send out testimonials. If you go to our Instagram at INC Tutoring, you'll see a lot of the testimonials and things that we've done to impact people. But when you see the yeses and the scores and the smiling faces and like the graduations you get invited to and the graduation parties, it's like, yo, we were behind this. You know what I'm saying? Like, we made this impact. And the resiliency of sticking it out, even though you want to quit day in, day in, day out, week in and week out, is important to have and manifest through your time as an entrepreneur. The other trait that I would say is to really have ability to choose teams wisely. Not everybody is there for you, and not everybody is there to work with you. Some people just want to check. Some people think that they want to be there to support your visions and dreams. And then when you get into the business and they get into your organization, you find out that they really don't have what it takes to be part of your team. So choosing the right people to get on that bus is another trait, and having that, can't think of the word for it right now, but having that decision-making ability to be able to discern that, if you will, is another trait that I think is important to have. So those two things I would say is what I would ask myself.
Jay, you dropped some huge value bombs there, and it's really amazing that you were saying and what you were saying. And it's so true, which is why this podcast started 3 years ago, when you mentioned about, and I've connected with the Small Business 10,000. It's an amazing program. And the thing that what you were saying is that if a Black person, I don't know what it's so many terminologies now, people are like, don't call me Black, people of color, whatever. I'm talking specifically Black people, African American, from the Black diasporas. If they start a business, if they make $50,000, at the same time you have three, in this example, and I've said it over and over again, 3 individuals, a Caucasian woman at the same time will make $162,000. A Caucasian man will make $262,000. It is a travesty where we're at. It's so many gaps. You talked about it, from financial literacy to education. It's like we have progressed, but we have regressed, and we have actually stood still. And so that is what propels me, and why I do what I do is about elevating and promoting Black entrepreneurs across the globe. And how can we elevate? Because I believe that how we can build stronger communities and stronger families is through entrepreneurship. Everyone should not be an entrepreneur, but I can tell you this, more of us should be. And in so many gaps, access to capital, social capital, not understanding business. You talked about venture capitalists not being at the table, not having access to funding, not understanding credit scores. We can go on, and we don't want to, we are not here to talk about negativity. We're here to be solution oriented. But I so hear you. We have so much in common. I love your spirit and what you're doing. Anything that we can do to support your business, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. It's a long way to go. Like, as we all know, the late and great Nipsey Hussle, right? The marathon continues. We have a long way to go. We have marched roads to get where we are now. And, my generation, which is the millennial generation, we have done a lot of great things within our generation to move the needle forward too. But our next generation, the Zers that are after us, that are today's high school kids and middle school kids and elementary kids, those are the ones who have to take the torch and keep the marathon running. So we'll be looking forward to it.
Absolutely. We've come to the part of our interview. It's called Fun Facts Lightning Round. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and I'd like you to give me very quick answers. And if it's something you desire not to answer, feel free to say pass. Are you ready for the Fun Facts Lightning Round?
Sure.
Jay, the last movie you saw?
Hustlers.
You relax doing what?
Watching Netflix sometimes.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
Nav.
Your favorite dance song?
Ooh. Pass, because I can't think of it so fast.
That's okay. What food you eat every week, no matter what?
Ooh, bananas.
Your favorite month?
November, my birthday.
Happy birthday early. Jay,
Thanks.
before we conclude, why don't you share with our audience the best way that they can connect with you? Someone saying, I need this tutoring for my child, or I need it in my state or my country. Give us all your handles and the way individuals can connect with you.
Absolutely appreciate that. So, of course, my name is Jay Veal. You can find me or find the brands, one at INC Tutoring on Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook. It's Not Complicated Tutoring. You can find me also at the Jay Veal Brand on Instagram and also at inkbeauty.co. That's also the site, www.inkbeauty.co. The site, www.thejayvealbrand, and www.inktutoring.com. Of course, searching in Google as well. If you search my name and any of those businesses, a ton of media will also show up as far as articles from anywhere from Black Enterprise to a multitude of different blogs and podcasts and everything else. So please definitely reach out to me. An email is the letter J.Veal, V as in Victor, EAL, at INCtutoring.com as well. So plenty of different ways, and you can search the TED Talk as well, which is under my name. And if you search TedX, you'll see the talk there too. Appreciate it.
All right, Jay, that's a wrap. Thank you.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.